Your life will never rise above the quality of your thoughts. The battle is not out there, it's in your mind. Every emotion, every action, every result begins with a single, undisciplined thought. If you can control what you think, you can control what you feel. And if you can control what you feel, you can control everything. This audiobook is not about motivation. It's about mental mastery. You will learn how to train your mind to obey you. You will learn how to stop being controlled by doubt, fear, and anxiety. You will learn how to think on purpose. Because when you control your thoughts, you change your life.
Chapter 1. Stop letting thoughts run on autopilot. You think you're in control of your life. You think you're making decisions, but most of the time, you're not. You're living on mental autopilot, running the same tired programs, reacting to the same triggers, and recycling the same thoughts you had yesterday, last week, last year. Science says you think about 60,000 thoughts a day. 80% of them are negative, and 95% of them are the same thoughts you had yesterday. That means most of your thinking isn't thinking. It's remembering. It's repeating. It's running old code. You're not living new days. You're reliving old ones. That's the trap. That's the invisible loop you've been stuck in. You don't need more motivation. You don't need another inspirational quote. You need to wake up to the thoughts that are running your life. Because until you do, your life will not change. The first rule of mental discipline is this: you can't change what you don't notice. You can't fight an enemy you won't name. And your thoughts, your automatic, unfiltered thoughts, are that enemy. Every thought you don't control controls you. Every thought you ignore programs you. That's why awareness is power. That's why awareness is step 1. Catch the thought, challenge the thought, change the thought. Say it again. Catch the thought, challenge the thought, change the thought. That's the mantra of mental mastery. Let's break it down. Step 1. Catch the thought. You have to see it before it takes over. That means slowing down enough to hear the words you say to yourself. You can't fix what you pretend not to hear. Every time you feel anxious, stop. Ask yourself, what did I just tell myself? Every time you feel small, weak, or defeated, ask, what thought created this feeling? It's never random. There's always a thought before the emotion. There's always a story you told yourself before the feeling took control. That's the pattern, and your power is in breaking that pattern. Step 2. Challenge the thought. Don't believe everything you think. Your mind lies to you. It repeats old fears, old opinions, old judgments that don't belong to the present moment. When your mind says, I can't do this, challenge it. Ask, is that true? When your mind says, it's too late, challenge it. Ask, who decided that? You don't need their permission. You don't need your old self's permission either. That's the key. Stop defending your limitations. You built them. You can break them. Challenge the thought until it has no power left. Challenge it until truth is louder than fear. Step 3. Change the thought. Once you've caught it and challenged it, now it's time to rewire it. Replace I can't handle this with I'm learning to handle this. Replace I always mess up with I'm improving every time. Replace I'll never make it with I'm getting closer. This isn't toxic positivity. This is cognitive discipline. This is you taking command of your inner language. Your mind is a muscle. It grows through repetition. Feed it strength, and it will give you power. Feed it weakness, and it will take you apart. Remember, Repetition builds prisons. Awareness breaks them. You can't live freely if your thoughts are locked in the past. You can't create a new life with the same mental language that built the old one. So, here's your tool, your first mental discipline practice. The daily thought audit. Every morning, 5 minutes, no excuses. Grab a notebook or your phone. Write down 3 things. The thoughts you woke up with. The emotions attached to them. The thoughts you choose to replace them with. Example: I woke up thinking, I'm tired of this job. Emotion: frustration. Replacement: this job is my training ground for something greater. Do this every day, because if you don't track your mind tracks you. If you don't write it, you'll forget it. And what you forget, you repeat. That's the rule. What you don't confront, you repeat. What you don't rewrite, you relive. The thought audit is how you stop the loop. It's how you turn awareness into action. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for the perfect mindset. Build it. 5 minutes of awareness will change 10 hours of reaction. 5 minutes of mental honesty will save you from a lifetime of unconscious habits. You want to know why you feel stuck? Because your thoughts never change. Your life can't move if your mind is standing still. You're not trapped, you're just unaware. You're not broken, you're just untrained. But training starts now. Every time you think a thought that doesn't serve you, stop. Catch it. Challenge it. Change it. Say it until it becomes automatic. Say it until it becomes instinct. Say it until it's you. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. You are the commander, the architect, the one in control. Your thoughts are tools. They're not supposed to run wild. They're supposed to serve a purpose, your purpose. So stop living on mental autopilot. Stop letting yesterday's thoughts build today's emotions. Stop handing your peace to untrained thinking. You have a choice. Every thought is a choice. That's the truth most people never learn. And once you accept that truth, you will never think the same way again. Remember this. Change doesn't start with action. It starts with awareness. It starts with the moment you decide to stop running old code and start writing new commands. Catch the thought, challenge the thought, change the thought. That's how you take your mind off autopilot. That's how you take your life off repeat. You mastered awareness. Now it's time to master repetition, to take control of what your mind obeys.
Chapter 2. Your mind obeys what you repeat. Your mind is a soldier. It follows orders. It does not care if those orders are wise, destructive, or lazy. It just obeys what you repeat. That's the truth no one tells you. Your brain doesn't move because you feel like it. It moves because you've trained it to respond to certain commands. Repetition is command. Emotion is noise. You can feel inspired for 5 minutes, but repetition rewires you for life. That's why change feels so hard. You're not fighting reality, you're fighting repetition. You've repeated weakness for years, and now you're trying to repeat strength for 1 week and call it progress. It doesn't work that way. You didn't become who you are overnight, and you won't become who you want to be without daily repetition. The mind learns through exposure. Whatever you expose it to repeatedly, it begins to believe. Say something long enough, your mind assumes it's truth. That's how identity is built. That's how belief becomes automatic. Let's make it clear. Affirmations are not positive thinking. They're mental programming. They are commands to the subconscious. Your subconscious is like fertile soil. It doesn't judge the seed. It just grows what you plant.
If you plant, "I'm not good enough," it grows limitation. If you plant, "I'm in control," it grows confidence. The soil doesn't care. It just follows repetition. That's what people don't understand about affirmations. They say them once, feel nothing, and quit. They expect emotion to lead transformation, but the mind follows repetition, not emotion. Emotion is the spark. Repetition is the engine. That's why the rule stands. Say it until you believe it until you live it. Let's break that down. Say it until you believe it. Your first repetitions will feel fake. You'll say, "I am calm under pressure," while shaking with anxiety. You'll say, "I am disciplined," while skipping your plan. You'll say, "I am in control," while your thoughts are racing. That's normal. You're not lying, you're training. You're speaking the new truth before you feel it. The brain is plastic, literally. It reshapes itself based on what you repeatedly think, feel, and say. Neuroscience calls it neuroplasticity, the ability of your brain to form new pathways through repetition. Every time you repeat a sentence, you strengthen a neural circuit. Every time you visualize success, you light up the same part of the brain as actually experiencing it. Repetition isn't pretending, it's programming. So when you say, "I am calm under pressure," and repeat it daily, your brain begins to associate that phrase with real calm. Neurons wire together. Chemicals stabilize. Repetition turns language into biology. That's how you reprogram a life. But most people misuse repetition. They repeat the wrong commands. They don't realize they're practicing weakness. They say, "I'm tired. I can't focus. I'm not ready. I always mess up." And guess what? The brain obeys. Your brain doesn't question your words, it executes them. If you tell it you're tired, it begins shutting down energy systems. If you tell it you're confident, it releases chemicals to align with that command. The command you repeat most becomes your identity. That's why you have to be ruthless about your language. Every word you say is a seed. Every sentence you repeat is an instruction to your nervous system. So ask yourself daily, what am I training my brain to believe? Here's the exercise, your second mental discipline habit. Command, repetition, practice. Every morning and every night, repeat 3 sentences. Who you are, what you're becoming, what you refuse to repeat. Example, I am calm under pressure. I am becoming unstoppable. I no longer speak weakness. Say it out loud. Not in your head, out loud. Because when you hear your own voice, the command is amplified. At first, it will feel mechanical. Then, it will start to feel familiar. Eventually, it will feel real. That's the process. Say it until you believe it until you live it. That's how repetition becomes reality. You've been repeating stories about yourself for years. I'm not disciplined. I'm not confident. I always overthink. You think you're describing yourself, but you're actually programming yourself. You've repeated those phrases so many times, they became automatic. And now it's time to break that automation. So here's the truth. If you can repeat weakness, you can repeat strength. If you can repeat doubt, you can repeat confidence. If you can repeat fear, you can repeat courage. The skill is the same, only the message changes. That's the key. It's not about emotion, it's about consistency. It's not about perfection, it's about repetition. Understand this, your brain does not understand later. It only knows now. So whatever you tell it now, it starts building. That's why affirmations work, not because they're magic, but because they give direction. Repetition gives structure to your mind's chaos.
Without repetition, your thoughts drift. With repetition, they align. You're not just training motivation, you're installing identity. That's why soldiers drill the same movements. That's why athletes run the same play hundreds of times. They're not chasing excitement. They're programming instinct. And that's exactly what you must do with your mind. Every time you repeat something, you're making a deposit. Small, invisible, quiet deposits. And one day, they compound into identity. The key is patience. You won't feel it working. That's how you know it's working. Because deep change is invisible before it's undeniable. So when you're tired of saying it, say it again. When you don't believe it, say it again. When you think it's not working, say it again. The brain learns through persistence. Your old identity took years to form. Give your new one time to take root. Remember, the subconscious doesn't need proof. It just needs repetition. Your mind is not your enemy. It's your greatest servant. But servants obey commands. And you've been giving the wrong ones. From now on, you speak strength. You speak calm. You speak discipline. Because what you say, you become. What you repeat, you live. Your brain is always listening. So speak like the person you want to become, not the person you're trying to escape. Say it until you believe it until you live it. That's how you take command of your mind. You've learned the truth. The mind obeys repetition, not emotion. Now it's time to build the emotional power that follows those commands, the ability to direct how you feel, not just what you think.
Chapter 3. Stop negotiating with negative thoughts. Negative thoughts do not negotiate. They dominate. They demand. They take control the moment you give them a voice. And when you start debating with them, you lose every time. Because negative thoughts aren't trying to find truth. They're trying to protect your fears. They don't care about your future. They cling to your past. That's the mistake most people make. They treat negative thoughts like they deserve a conversation, like they deserve respect, like they are an authority. But they are not facts. They are not commands. They are not who you are. They are mental noise built from old scars, old habits, and old insecurities. And the more attention you give them, the stronger they get. Stop negotiating with negative thoughts. Cut off the conversation. Your mind will whisper, "You're not good enough. You always mess up. You'll never change." These are not insights. These are automatic responses from an untrained brain. A brain that has repeated fear for years. A brain that has rehearsed failure more than growth. A brain that doesn't want discomfort, even if discomfort leads to change. Negative thoughts are survival programming, not success programming. They are designed to keep you where you are, not help you grow. So when fear speaks, you don't explain, you don't justify, you don't argue back. You replace it. You give your mind new orders. Here's the truth. Every second you spend debating a negative thought is a second you reinforce it. If you argue with a lie long enough, it feels like truth. If you respond to doubt long enough, it becomes identity. So the rule is simple. Don't debate darkness. Turn on a stronger light. You don't silence negativity by analyzing it. You silence it by overwhelming it with direction. Thoughts are like stray animals. Feed them once, and they keep coming back. Feed them every day, and they take over your home. Do not feed what is trying to weaken you. Because here's what happens when you negotiate with negative thoughts. You start giving reasons. You start defending yourself. You start explaining your worth to your own mind. That is how insecurity grows. That is how confidence dies. Confidence does not come from winning arguments with fear. Confidence comes from ignoring fear and taking action anyway. The mind adapts to what you do, not what you debate. Let's simplify this. When a negative thought appears, you have two choices. 1. Engage it and get trapped in anxiety, doubt, and overthinking. 2. Replace it and take back command of your inner world. You have a choice. That's the key. So, here is your mental discipline technique for this chapter. The replacement rule. It works in 3 quick commands. 1. Name the lie. I'm not good enough. 2. Reject the negotiation. We don't think like that anymore. 3. Replace it with truth. I am growing stronger every day. Say it out loud if you can. When you speak with authority, negative thoughts lose their power. The second you replace a negative thought with purpose, you win. Not later, not eventually, right now. Replacement is victory. Negative thoughts are sneaky. They disguise themselves as caution, as logic, as realism. But realism without optimism is just fear in a suit. You don't need fear to keep you safe anymore. You're not in danger, you're uncomfortable. And discomfort is not a warning sign, it's a growth sign. Stop interpreting progress as a threat. Stop letting fear masquerade as wisdom. You don't need permission to rise. You don't need fear to approve your next step. You decide. You command. You choose the thought. Say it with me. I control what stays in my mind. I don't negotiate with thoughts that weaken me. My mind obeys my commands. This isn't pretending. This is training. This isn't ego. This is self-respect. You don't have to argue with thoughts that don't serve your mission. You just replace them over and over and over again, because repetition builds identity, and identity builds your entire life. Listen carefully. Negative thoughts are like salesmen, persistent, annoying, and always selling something you don't need. You don't need to buy their product. You don't need to entertain their pitch. You hang up the phone. You close the door. You walk away. That's strength. That's discipline. That's mental command. Every time your mind tests you with weakness, you respond with strength. Every time your mind tries to pull you backwards, you take one step forward. Every time doubt knocks, confidence answers. That is the work. That is the transformation. Not once, not sometimes, daily, relentlessly. The mind learns through consistency. Victory is built through repetition. You are training dominance over your inner voice. Negative thoughts are not your truth. They are your challenge, and you win that challenge through command, through discipline, through replacement. Say it until you believe it. Believe it until you live it. Live it until doubting yourself feels unfamiliar. That is the evolution of identity. You don't need to win arguments with fear. You just need to stop giving it a microphone. You've learned how to stop negotiating with negativity. Now it's time to take full control of the emotional response that follows those thoughts, to master the state you live in.
Chapter 4. Emotion follows thought, always. Your emotions are not random. They are not accidents. They are the echo of your thoughts. Every emotion you feel, anger, peace, fear, joy, anxiety, confidence, begins with a single thought. You don't feel bad for no reason. You feel bad because you thought something that created that feeling. Emotion follows thought, always. That's not philosophy. That's biology. Your thoughts are electrical. Your emotions are chemical. Every thought you think sends a signal through your body. That signal triggers a release of emotion. Think fear, and your brain releases cortisol. Think gratitude, and it releases dopamine. Think peace, and your body relaxes. You are not being attacked by emotions. You are reacting to the thoughts you allow. Most people live the other way around. They let emotion lead thought. They wake up feeling heavy and assume, I must be depressed. They feel anxious and say, something's wrong. They feel angry and assume, I have no control. No. Emotion follows thought. You felt heavy because you thought something hopeless. You felt anxious because you thought something uncertain. You felt angry because you thought something unfair. Every emotion has a thought attached to it. Trace the thought, and you find the cause. You can't fix the feeling until you fix the thought. That's the key. You have to start thinking before you feel, not feeling before you think. You can't afford to let emotions decide your day. You decide your day with your thoughts. This is where emotional control begins, not in suppressing emotion, but in mastering the thoughts that create it. Say it with me. I don't control every emotion, but I control every thought that creates emotion. That's the foundation of calm. That's the foundation of power. Let's take a real example. You're driving to work. You remember a mistake you made yesterday. You start replaying it. You start imagining what people might have thought. You start criticizing yourself. Now your heart tightens, your stomach drops, your body tenses. You say, why do I feel so anxious today? You're not anxious about today. You're anxious about the thought you just fed your mind. It's not the situation creating the stress, it's the sentence in your head. The thought came first, the feeling followed. This is why mental toughness is emotional mastery. It's not about pretending you don't feel things. It's about realizing why you feel them. It's about catching the first thought before it grows into a storm. The storm doesn't come from the sky. It comes from the mind. And when you change your thoughts, you change the weather inside you. Here's what you have to understand. The body obeys the brain. When you think, I'm in danger, your brain prepares you for war. It floods you with adrenaline and cortisol. Your body tenses because it believes the thought. When you think, I'm safe, your body relaxes. Your breathing slows. Your chemistry changes. You didn't change your world. You changed your words. And that changed your world. That's how powerful thought is. So here's your training. Reframe the trigger. The moment emotion rises, don't ask, why do I feel this? Ask, what was I just thinking? Because that's where your power is. Let's say someone disrespects you. Your first thought might be, they're attacking me. That creates anger. But if you reframe it, they're revealing who they are, not who I am. The emotion shifts instantly. Same event, different thought, different feeling. That's mastery. That's emotional control. Here's another one. You fail at something. You think, I'm not good enough. You feel shame. You withdraw. But if you catch it and replace it with, I'm learning faster than before, the shame fades. The energy returns. The brain releases different chemicals. You feel capable again. That's the rule. Change the thought, and you change the feeling. This is the practical formula. 1. Notice the emotion. 2. Identify the thought that created it. 3. Replace the thought and watch the emotion follow. It works every time because your brain obeys logic. Emotion is the echo. Change the original sound, and the echo changes automatically.
You can't yell peace into chaos while thinking panic. You have to think peace first. You have to lead your mind before your feelings follow. The calmest people you know are not emotionless. They're thought disciplined. They've trained themselves to think before they feel. That's why you never see them lose control. Not because they don't get triggered, but because they've mastered the pause between thought and feeling. That's the skill. The pause. That single moment between stimulus and response where power lives. That's where emotion is created. That's where it can be redirected. So the next time your emotions rise, pause. Say to yourself, this feeling started as a thought. I can choose a new one. Breathe, reframe, replace. That's the process. You might say, but my emotions feel real. Of course they do. They are real, but they're not always right. Feeling scared doesn't mean you're in danger. Feeling unworthy doesn't mean you are. Feeling angry doesn't mean you have to react. You can acknowledge the feeling without obeying it. You can name it without nurturing it. You can understand it without becoming it. That's the difference between reaction and response. Reaction is emotion leading thought. Response is thought leading emotion. You must become a responder, not a reactor. So here's your emotional discipline mantra. My feelings are messengers, not masters. Say it again. My feelings are messengers, not masters. They tell you what you're thinking. They don't tell you what's true. Your job is not to silence emotion. Your job is to lead it. Lead with thought. Lead with command. Lead with awareness. Because the moment you think with clarity, you feel with power. Remember this. You don't wait to feel confident to act. You think confidently, and action follows. You don't wait to feel calm to breathe deeply. You think calm, and calm appears. You don't wait to feel ready. You think readiness, and readiness becomes real. The body follows the brain. Emotion follows thought. Always. So from now on, you control the cause, not just the symptom. You take ownership of your thoughts before they turn into storms. You lead your emotions instead of following them. That's how leaders think. That's how warriors move. That's how calm becomes your natural state. You've learned that emotion follows thought. Now, it's time to learn how to create one dominant thought, one unshakable mental command that drives everything you do.
Chapter 5. The Power of One Dominant Thought. You become what you repeatedly think about, not what you wish for, not what you say out loud once in a while, what you repeat over and over until it becomes your mental center of gravity. That's the power of one dominant thought. Every strong mind, every disciplined person, every calm achiever, they all have one thing in common. They carry one clear, commanding thought that governs everything else. For some, it's, I don't break. For others, it's, everything is figure-outable. For the wise, it's, I am in control of me. That single sentence becomes their anchor, their filter, their focus. It's the one thought that refuses to be replaced by noise. Most people live with 1,000 weak thoughts, fighting for attention. I'm tired. I can't. What if they don't like me? I hope this works. 1,000 small, scattered thoughts. No direction, no command, no center. But mental toughness begins when you cut through that noise and decide on one dominant thought to lead them all. Because the mind follows the strongest signal. And when you strengthen one signal, everything else fades. That's how you build inner authority. Let's get real. Your mind will obey something, either your fears, your habits, or your chosen thought. If you don't install the dominant thought consciously, your fears will do it for you. That's why most people live in quiet chaos. Their dominant thought is, what if I fail? And so their life becomes a collection of defensive moves. But if your dominant thought becomes, I am capable of handling anything, then every fear, every obstacle, every unknown gets filtered through that command. The brain takes orders. Give it the right one. Let's talk about why this works, scientifically. Your brain has a part called the reticular activating system, the RAS. It's your mind's filter. It decides what to notice, what to ignore, and what to act on. When you install a dominant thought, the RAS begins hunting for evidence to support it. If your dominant thought is, I'm always unlucky, your brain will highlight every failure and ignore every win. If your dominant thought is, I always find a way, your brain will light up opportunities, ideas, and actions that match it. That's not motivation, that's neurobiology. Your brain literally reshapes itself around what you repeat. That's neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain to rewire through repetition. So when I tell you, say it until you believe it until you live it, I'm not talking about wishful thinking. I'm talking about brain science. Your dominant thought becomes your emotional GPS. It decides how you interpret life. Someone cuts you off in traffic, your dominant thought decides whether you explode or shrug it off. You lose an opportunity. Your dominant thought decides whether you spiral or adapt. You fail. Your dominant thought decides whether you stop or rebuild. Because the event doesn't define you. The thought that follows does. That's the power of one dominant thought. It's the command that defines every response. Here's the truth. You don't need 100 affirmations. You need one mental command that you can't ignore. One that fits like armor. One that you can whisper when your mind starts to drift. One that keeps you anchored when chaos hits. Repeat it until it becomes instinct, until it's the first voice that speaks in crisis. You won't have to remember it. It will speak for you. Let's build yours. Ask yourself, what thought would make me unshakable if it were true? Is it, nothing can break me? Is it, I control my response? Is it, calm is my weapon? Is it, discipline over doubt? Choose one, not 10. One. Write it down. Repeat it every morning and night. Speak it when your emotions rise. Use it when you feel lost. That's not a ritual. That's programming. Here's what you'll notice. At first, it'll feel fake. You'll say, I'm in control, and your mind will whisper back, no, you're not. That's normal. That's resistance. But remember, the brain doesn't obey truth. It obeys repetition. Say it until you believe it. Believe it until you live it. Because repetition rewires reality. You didn't learn fear overnight. It was repeated into you. You didn't learn doubt overnight. It was repeated into you. So don't expect confidence to appear overnight. It must be repeated into you too. This is where the game changes. When your dominant thought becomes stronger than your temporary emotion, you become unbreakable. That's the moment your discipline overrides your impulse. That's the moment your mind obeys you, not the world. When stress rises, your dominant thought will answer first. When fear creeps in, your dominant thought will intercept it. When chaos hits, your dominant thought will lead you through it. It becomes your internal general, commanding order in the noise of war.
That's not motivation, that's mastery. You must guard that dominant thought like a soldier guards his post, because life will try to steal it from you. People will mock your confidence. Failure will test your belief. Distraction will drown your focus. But you repeat it anyway. You keep saying it when it feels fake. You keep saying it when no one believes. You keep saying it when you're shaking. That's how belief is built, under pressure, through repetition. Because faith is forged, not found. Here's the discipline. Every morning, before you check your phone, before you think about the day, repeat your dominant thought out loud 10 times. Slowly, deliberately, commandingly. Look at yourself in the mirror. Say it like you mean it. Then act like it's already true. Throughout the day, when stress hits, pause and repeat it again. At night, say it once more, right before you sleep, so your subconscious goes to work reinforcing it while you rest. That's how you train the mind. That's how you install a new command system. You are not trying to feel positive. You are building a mental program that becomes automatic. The difference between chaos and control is repetition. The difference between doubt and dominance is repetition. The difference between emotion and discipline is repetition. You are training your brain to obey your chosen command. That's the quiet work no one sees. That's the foundation every calm warrior builds. Remember, your life is moving in the direction of your most dominant thought. If that thought is fear, you'll live defensive. If that thought is control, you'll live disciplined. If that thought is peace, you'll live free. You decide which one leads. You decide which one repeats. You don't need 1,000 thoughts. You need one that never breaks. Because one clear thought repeated with conviction beats 1,000 scattered ones fueled by emotion. That's how you build a mind that obeys you. That's how you create emotional stability. That's how you take back control. You've learned how to focus your entire mental power into one dominant thought. Now it's time to use that power to eliminate the single biggest enemy of inner peace: overthinking.
Chapter 6. Master the Pause. Control before reaction. The difference between people who lose control and those who command themselves comes down to one skill: the pause. That small, silent space between what happens and how you respond. That half-second gap that decides whether you explode or stay composed. That invisible breath that separates impulse from intelligence. Master the pause, and you master your life. Ignore it, and you stay a slave to emotion. Every argument, every regret, every emotional storm you've ever walked through could have been avoided by one thing: the ability to pause before you react. That's the discipline of control. That's the art of composure. That's the moment when your power is tested, not when everything is calm, but when everything demands that you react. Most people are reactors, not responders. Something happens and they fire back instantly. Someone insults them, they defend. Someone disagrees, they argue. Someone disrespects them, they explode. They think that's power. It's not. It's proof that they've lost control of themselves. Because every time you react without thinking, you hand your power to the moment. You let emotion become the driver and logic become the passenger. That's how weak minds live, chasing every emotional impulse as if it were truth. But strength lives in the pause. Wisdom lives in the pause. Peace lives in the pause. That's where calm decisions are made. Listen carefully. The pause is not inaction. It's preparation. It's not hesitation. It's calculation. It's not weakness. It's strength in its highest form. Anyone can react. Only the disciplined can wait. The pause is your proof of mastery, the ability to remain still when your emotions demand motion. That's power. Here's the truth most people never learn. You can't control the world, but you can always control the space between stimulus and response. That space is where your freedom lives. Viktor Frankl said it best. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. That's not just philosophy, it's practical training for the mind. Because every time you pause before reacting, you strengthen your emotional muscle. You prove to yourself that you are in command, not your environment. Let's break it down. A thought hits you. An emotion rises. A trigger fires. You feel that heat, the urge to reply, to defend, to attack, to explain. That's the moment of truth. Right there. Pause. Breathe. Feel your body tense. Observe it. Don't obey it. Say quietly to yourself, I control the next move. That one breath, that 1 second shifts everything. The brain transitions from emotional reaction to rational control. You move from chaos to clarity. That's the power of the pause. You must train this like a soldier trains reflexes, because under pressure, you don't rise to the level of motivation, you fall to the level of training. So you have to make the pause a reflex, automatic, immediate, instinctive. Here's how you train it. Step 1. Awareness. Throughout the day, notice your triggers: traffic, disrespect, mistakes, rejection. Every time you feel your body react, stop and name it. Say, I'm being triggered. Naming it breaks its control. Step 2. Breathe before response. Inhale slowly for 4 seconds. Exhale for 4. This simple pattern resets your nervous system. It signals your brain that you are safe, no need for an emotional explosion. Step 3. Ask one question. What outcome do I want? Not, how do I feel? Not, what did they do? Ask, what outcome do I want? That question shifts you from emotion to strategy. That's what strong minds do. They don't react, they calculate. Let me give you an example. Someone criticizes you publicly. Your first impulse: attack, defend, prove them wrong. But if you pause just 3 seconds and ask, what outcome do I want? You realize that reacting emotionally only feeds their power. Staying calm makes you unpredictable. Staying silent keeps you respected. The pause saves your energy and protects your reputation. Because not every action needs a reaction. Sometimes silence is dominance. Here's the reality. People who control the pause control perception. They appear calm even when chaos is loud. They look powerful because they don't flinch. And people respect calm energy. They fear it. They follow it. Because calm is not weakness, calm is signal control. When you pause, you disrupt the rhythm of chaos. You slow down what was trying to speed you up. And in that slowdown, you regain command. But the pause isn't just for conflict, it's for life. You pause before speaking and choose clarity over noise. You pause before deciding and choose strategy over impulse. You pause before quitting and choose persistence over emotion. That's how you build momentum without burnout. That's how you live steady in a frantic world. Because chaos loves speed, but mastery lives in stillness. The pause is your proof of patience, and patience is the highest form of power.
Some will say, "But if I pause, I'll look weak." No. The person who can pause owns time. The person who reacts is a slave to time. They move when pushed, they speak when provoked. They fall for traps because they can't handle stillness. The one who pauses owns the pace. Control the pause and you control the tempo of every situation. That's real leadership. You must understand, control is not built in comfort. It's built in those moments where your entire body screams, react, and you whisper, wait. That's where growth happens. That's where discipline is born. Because control doesn't mean you don't feel emotion, it means you've trained yourself to own emotion before it owns you. The pause is the gateway. The pause is the test. The pause is the bridge between emotion and wisdom. And most will fail it, not because they're weak, but because they never learned to wait. You are learning it now. So from today forward, repeat this rule. Breathe, observe, respond. Never react. Say it until it's instinct. Say it until every emotional impulse meets that filter first. Because every second you wait, your power compounds. Every moment you pause, your control deepens. Every breath you take before reaction adds one more layer of calm. That's how warriors think. That's how leaders move. That's how peace is practiced. So remember this. The pause isn't silence, it's command. The pause isn't delay, it's decision. The pause isn't empty, it's full of awareness. And in that awareness lives your strength, your peace, and your authority. You are no longer reacting to the world. You are responding with control. That's the discipline that separates the restless from the resilient. You've learned to master the pause, to find control before reaction. Now it's time to master something even deeper: emotional neutrality, the ability to remain unshaken no matter what's happening around you.
Chapter 7. Guard the gates. What you feed your mind becomes you. Your mind is a fortress, but most people leave the gates wide open. They guard their homes, their passwords, their money, but not their thoughts. And that's why they stay weak. That's why they stay anxious. That's why they stay distracted. You can't build a strong mind if you let garbage walk through the front door every day. Guard the gates, because what you feed your mind becomes who you are. Everything you consume, every word, every image, every voice, every conversation, it all programs you. The mind doesn't filter entertainment from instruction. It doesn't know what's a joke and what's a belief. It absorbs everything you repeat and calls it truth. That's why your environment matters. That's why your inputs matter. If you fill your mind with chaos, your thoughts become chaotic. If you fill your mind with fear, your thoughts become cautious. If you fill your mind with discipline, your thoughts become steady. The mind becomes what it's fed, always. Here's the rule. Your mental diet shapes your emotional state. You can't expect clarity while consuming confusion. You can't expect peace while feeding on noise. You can't expect focus while scrolling distraction. You are what you repeatedly watch, listen to, and say. You are what you give attention to, because attention is energy, and energy is life. Whatever owns your attention owns your mind. Think about it. You can spend 5 minutes on the news and feel powerless for hours. You can spend 10 minutes on social media and start doubting your entire life. You can spend one conversation with a negative person and feel drained for the whole day.
That's not coincidence. That's input. Your energy didn't disappear. It was stolen through your gates. You have to protect those gates like a warrior protects his post. There are 3 gates: what you see, what you hear, and what you speak. Let's start with what you see. Visual input is programming. Every image you expose yourself to, success or failure, chaos or calm, becomes a reference point for your brain. If all you see is distraction, you'll normalize distraction. If all you see is progress, you'll pursue progress. That's why you must curate your environment. Clean your visual world. Remove clutter. Remove negativity. Design surroundings that reflect focus and calm. Your outer world shapes your inner one. The second gate is what you hear. Sound is suggestion. Your brain learns through repetition and tone. If all you listen to are angry voices, gossip, or noise, don't be surprised when your thoughts become loud and reactive. But if you feed your mind calm instruction, disciplined truth, and focused input, your inner voice becomes steady. Be careful whose voice you allow to enter your head, because once a voice enters, it leaves echoes. Don't let temporary noise become permanent programming. Silence is better than poison. Guidance is better than gossip. You don't need more opinions. You need more order. And the third gate, the most powerful one, is what you speak. Your words are commands to your subconscious. Every "I can't," every "I'm tired," every "I'm not enough" becomes an order your mind follows. You are literally programming yourself through your vocabulary. That's why disciplined people speak differently. They don't say, "I can't." They say, "I'm not choosing that." They don't say, "This is hard." They say, "This is training." They speak like people who are in control. You can't think powerfully while speaking weakly. Guard your mouth like you guard your mind, because they're connected. Here's the hard truth. Most people are not depressed. They're overstimulated. Their nervous system is fried from endless input. They're scrolling more than they're living, consuming more than they're creating. They call it relaxing, but it's really escaping. They drown in distraction to avoid silence, because silence would reveal how unfocused they've become. You can't build mental toughness while feeding your brain junk. You can't meditate on peace while marinating in chaos. You must detox the mind. You must clean the mental feed. That's what it means to guard the gates. So here's your daily discipline. 1. Audit your input. For 1 week, write down what you see, hear, and speak each day. Notice what drains you. Notice what strengthens you. You'll realize it's not life that's overwhelming you. It's the unfiltered noise you've been allowing in. 2. Choose your sources. Limit your mental diet to what aligns with your values and vision. Read books that sharpen you. Listen to voices that ground you. Spend time with people who challenge you to grow. That's not isolation. That's intention. 3. Create silence. Every day, spend at least 15 minutes with no input. No music, no talking, no scrolling. Just sit. Breathe. Let your thoughts settle. Silence is not empty. It's cleansing. It's how your mind resets and strengthens its defenses.
Chapter 8. Thought discipline is emotional freedom. Freedom doesn't start when life gets easier. Freedom starts
when your mind gets disciplined. Most people are emotional prisoners, not because life is unfair, but because their thoughts run wild. They are locked in cages built from overthinking, self-doubt, and imaginary problems. You cannot feel free while your thoughts are untrained. You cannot live free while your emotions are reacting to every mental impulse. Thought discipline is emotional freedom. That's the truth most people never face. Understand this. Emotions are not random. They are responses to thoughts, nothing more. A thought appears. You believe it. You feel it. That's the chain. Thought, belief, emotion. Break the chain at the thought level, and you break emotional chaos. But if you don't control the thought, the emotion will control you. That's how most people live, slaves to their own mental noise. One small worry turns into full-blown panic. One self-doubt turns into paralysis. One memory turns into a spiral of guilt. They call it anxiety, but in truth, it's mental indiscipline. The mind is like a muscle, and most people never train it. They let it wander, react, and repeat old programs without resistance. And then they wonder why they feel powerless. Power comes from precision. Freedom comes from control. You can't have peace while letting your mind run on default. You must take command. Thought discipline is that command. It's the ability to choose what you focus on, what you believe, and what you feed energy to. Let's get practical. Here's the formula. Catch it, question it, command it. When a thought enters your mind, you have 3 options. Let it pass. Entertain it. Command it. Weak minds entertain every thought. Strong minds command their thoughts. A disciplined mind doesn't ask, "Why am I thinking this?" It asks, "Does this serve my focus?" That one question will save you from years of emotional exhaustion. Let's say a thought appears, "I'm not good enough." You catch it. You question it. Where did that come from? Who told me that? What evidence supports it? Then you command it. You replace it with, "I'm improving every day, every hour." Do that enough times, and your brain rewires itself. That's not motivational talk. That's neuroplasticity. Your brain physically changes based on repeated focus. So repetition isn't empty. It's construction. You're literally building new emotional architecture. Most people think emotional freedom means feeling good all the time. Wrong. It means being in charge of what you feel, even when life gets hard. Emotional freedom doesn't mean you never feel anger or sadness. It means you choose when to release them and when to let them go. That's power. A disciplined mind can experience emotion without drowning in it. It feels, but it doesn't fall. The undisciplined mind reacts. The disciplined mind responds. That's the difference between chaos and control. Here's the truth. Your thoughts will always come. You can't stop them, but you can train your response. Think of thoughts like waves. You can't stop the ocean, but you can learn to surf. When you panic, you sink. When you relax, you float. When you master the rhythm, you ride. That's what thought discipline gives you. The ability to stay steady while the mind moves. You stop identifying with every thought that enters your head. You become the observer, not the prisoner. You stop saying, "I am anxious." You start saying, "I'm noticing an anxious thought." That's emotional freedom. That small shift in language is massive in power.
Let's talk about mental fasting. You know how you fast from food to reset the body? You can fast from thought loops to reset the mind. Pick one recurring negative thought, and for 24 hours, refuse to feed it. Each time it appears, replace it instantly with a neutral phrase. Not now. Doesn't serve me. I'm focused on the present. That's not avoidance. That's discipline. You're training your brain to stop giving oxygen to mental fires. Do it long enough, and the fire dies out. Because thoughts without attention starve. Here's another truth. Emotions are feedback, not facts. They tell you where your focus has been. If you feel anxious, your thoughts have been on uncertainty. If you feel angry, your thoughts have been on control. If you feel grateful, your thoughts have been on abundance. You can trace every feeling back to a thought you allowed. So stop chasing emotional control. Start practicing thought control. That's the real work. But don't confuse thought discipline with suppression. You're not ignoring emotions, you're guiding them. Suppression is silence from fear. Discipline is silence from mastery. You're not pretending everything's fine. You're choosing how to think about what happens. That's why discipline feels hard at first, because you've been reacting for years. You've built emotional habits around chaos. Breaking those habits takes patience and repetition. But the payoff is peace. Peace that no one can take from you. Here's your daily exercise. 1. Morning thought rehearsal. Spend 5 minutes before your day begins and choose 3 thoughts to anchor your focus. Example: I control my response. I move with calm. I trust my pace. Repeat them slowly. Feel them. That's mental training. 2. Midday thought check. Pause for 30 seconds every few hours. Ask yourself, what thought is driving my mood right now? Name it. Replace it if needed. 3. Evening thought release. Before bed, list 3 thoughts you want to drop. Write them down. Say, I release this. Then stop revisiting them. That's how you detox your mind daily. Remember, the mind will always produce thoughts. That's its job. Your job is to manage the quality of those thoughts. You don't need to control the weather. You just need to steer the ship. That's thought discipline. That's emotional freedom. Because when you master your thoughts, you stop being a slave to every emotion. You stop being tossed around by life's smallest triggers. You become still. You become grounded. You become free. Most people are chasing peace through possessions, people, or status. But peace is not something you find. It's something you build through inner order. You can't buy discipline. You can't outsource focus. You must practice it every single day until it becomes who you are. Thought discipline is not about control for the sake of control. It's about freedom, the ability to move through life without being owned by your emotions. When your thoughts obey you, your emotions serve you. And when your emotions serve you, life obeys you. That's the hierarchy of power. That's true mastery. You've learned to discipline your thoughts, to claim emotional freedom through mental control. Now it's time to understand what fuels this power from the inside: identity, because the mind obeys the self-image you hold.
Chapter 9. Identity follows thought. Become the person you think you are. Who you think you are is who you become. Read that again. Who you think you are, not who you wish to be, not who others say you are, but who you decide you are in your own mind. That identity becomes your destiny. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not your feelings.
You are the story you tell yourself every single day, silently, repeatedly, relentlessly. Identity follows thought. You build or break yourself with every mental sentence you accept as truth. Here's what most people don't understand. The mind doesn't care if your thoughts are true. It only cares if they are repeated. You can repeat a lie long enough and it becomes your belief. You can repeat weakness long enough and it becomes your personality. You can repeat fear long enough and it becomes your comfort zone. That's how identity is formed. Repetition over time. You become what you feed your mind to believe. That's why people stay stuck. They say things like, "I'm not confident. I'm just lazy. I've always been like this." No, you've thought like this for too long. That's the real problem. You are not fixed. You are programmed, and programming can be rewritten. Your brain is not a judge. It's a servant. It doesn't decide what's true. It obeys what's consistent. That's the power of repetition. That's the law of identity. When you say something to yourself often enough, the subconscious mind stops questioning it. It starts building your behavior around it. Say, "I'm always late," long enough, and your actions will align with that statement. Say, "I'm a disciplined person," long enough, and your actions will begin to match that command. Because the body follows belief, behavior follows thought, identity follows repetition. That's why it's not enough to try to change your actions. You must first change your inner language. You don't act like a disciplined person. You think like one until you become one. Let's make it real. Think about the stories you've been telling yourself for years. "I'm not good with people. I always mess up. I can't focus." Stop right there. Those aren't facts. They're affirmations. Negative affirmations. And your mind has been obeying them for years. Every time you think it, you reinforce it. Every time you repeat it, you deepen it. The mind doesn't recognize sarcasm or doubt. It takes your words as commands. So when you say, "I'm so tired of this life," your brain goes, "Okay, let's lower the energy." When you say, "Nothing ever works out for me," your brain says, "Got it. Let's filter out opportunities." When you say, "I always attract problems," your brain obeys. It starts finding more problems. That's not magic. That's mental conditioning. But the same rule works in your favor. You can rebuild yourself with deliberate thought. You can create a new identity from scratch. You do it by repeating what you want until it becomes natural. Say it until you believe it. Believe it until you live it. Live it until it becomes you. That's how transformation happens. Let's break down the process. Here's your 3-step identity upgrade. Step 1. Choose the new command. Decide who you want to be, clearly, specifically, powerfully. Say, "I am calm under pressure. I am consistent, even when it's hard. I am the kind of person who follows through." Write it down. Speak it daily. Not once, constantly. Morning, night, in moments of weakness. Step 2. Catch the old program. You will hear your old self whisper. It'll say, "You've tried before." It'll say, "You're lying to yourself." Catch it. Don't fight it. Just don't feed it. Say, "That's the old me. I don't run that script anymore." That phrase, "I don't run that script anymore," is mental power. It's how you end old patterns with authority. Step 3. Align behavior with belief. Identity isn't built through imagination alone. You must act in accordance with your new self-image. If you say, "I'm disciplined," show it with one small action today. If you say, "I'm calm," hold that energy when chaos hits. If you say, "I'm focused," Prove it by finishing the task in front of you. Each action reinforces the new identity. Each repetition strengthens the neural pathway. That's neuroplasticity, the brain reshaping itself around thought and behavior. You're not pretending, you're programming. Remember this. Every time you choose a disciplined thought, you are voting for your new identity. Every time you catch yourself slipping and redirect, you're laying another brick in the foundation of who you're becoming. Change is not instant, it's cumulative. You don't suddenly become someone new. You think like them long enough until the world has no choice but to recognize it. Let's get brutally honest. Most people want transformation, but they refuse to change their inner dialogue. They want confidence while thinking insecure thoughts. They want peace while feeding drama. They want success while repeating stories of failure. You can't outwork a negative identity. You can't outperform a mind that's working against you. That's why the real work is invisible. It happens in silence. It happens in the mind. It happens every time you catch yourself saying, "I can't," and replace it with, "I'm learning." That's where identity shifts begin, in micro moments of awareness. Here's your challenge. For the next 7 days, pay attention to your self-talk. Every time you think or say something that defines you negatively, stop. Ask yourself, would the future version of me speak like that? If not, change it. Replace it. Reprogram it. Do it 1,000 times if you must, because that's how long it takes to rewrite the story of who you are. This is not pretending to be someone you're not. This is becoming the person you were supposed to be before doubt rewrote your story. You are not broken. You are untrained. And training begins with thought. Your identity is not written in stone. It's written in repetition. Every day you can rewrite the code. You don't need the world's permission to start. You only need your own. Identity follows thought. If you think small, you live small. If you think strong, you live strong. If you think disciplined, you live free. You can't feel like a leader until you think like one. You can't act like a warrior until you see yourself as one. You can't walk in peace until you believe you deserve it. So start with one sentence. Repeat it until it becomes your truth. Say, "I am becoming the person I was meant to be." Say it until it feels real. Say it until your habits match your words. Say it until your thoughts, emotions, and actions all point in one direction: forward. Your thoughts are your commands. Your repetition is your reprogramming. Your identity is your masterpiece. So build it, one thought, one word, one repetition at a time. Because when you finally think like the person you want to become, you'll realize you already are. You've learned that identity follows thought, that every repeated belief shapes who you become. Now it's time to put all of this together into the final evolution of mental mastery. Because control isn't just about thoughts or emotions, it's about design.
Chapter 10. Think on purpose. Live on purpose. Most people drift through life thinking by accident. They think what the world feeds them. They think what their parents believed. They think what fear whispers. And then they wonder why their life feels chaotic, unfocused, and empty. But you're different now. You've learned how to take command of the mind. You've learned that thoughts aren't random, they're instructions. You've learned that the quality of your thoughts decides the quality of your life. So now we go deeper. This is the final level: intentional thinking. This is where everything changes. This is where you stop living on autopilot and start living on purpose. Every great life begins with a deliberate thought. Not a wish, not a dream, not an accident. A decision. The decision to think with purpose. To choose your mental focus with precision. To stop letting random emotions dictate the direction of your life.
When you think on purpose, you live by design. You don't react, you respond. You don't chase, you create. You don't get dragged by the mind, you lead it. That's mental leadership. That's power. Here's the truth most people never face. Every day, you're either creating thoughts or you're being created by them. There is no neutral. There is no pause button. You are always becoming what you repeatedly think. So if your thoughts are undirected, so is your life. If your thoughts are negative, so is your experience. If your thoughts are weak, so is your energy. But when you start thinking on purpose, with awareness, with intention, your entire inner world reorganizes itself. That's not philosophy. That's neuroplasticity. The mind adapts to what you focus on. Focus on power, you feel power. Focus on peace, you radiate peace. Focus on fear, you attract fear. You can't escape it. You can only use it. Here's the command. Never think accidentally again. Every time you catch yourself drifting into old thoughts, pause. Ask, who's choosing this thought? Me or my conditioning? That one question breaks the loop. That one question gives you back control. Because awareness is the trigger of transformation. The moment you notice your thought, you can change it. You can redirect it. You can replace it. That's the power of thinking on purpose. Intentional thinking is like steering a ship. The waves of emotion will come. The winds of stress will blow. But the captain doesn't throw the wheel away. He holds it steady. That's your mind. You are the captain. Your thoughts are the wheel. If you don't steer it, the storm will. So when life feels chaotic, when people test you, when things fall apart, don't react. Pause. Think on purpose. Ask, what thought serves my peace right now? What thought serves my progress right now? And then choose it. That's discipline. That's control. That's freedom. Here's the truth most people never face. Intentional thinking is not about positive thinking. It's about strategic thinking. It's not about ignoring reality. It's about directing focus within reality. You're not saying everything is perfect. You're saying, I choose how to think about what's happening. That one mental shift turns chaos into clarity. You stop reacting to everything. You start responding to what matters. You stop wasting mental energy on things you can't control. You start investing energy into what you can. Your thoughts, your actions, your growth. That's the foundation of a powerful life. Mental efficiency. Let's get practical. Here's the daily structure for thinking on purpose. The 3 commands of clarity. 1. Morning command. Direct your focus. When you wake up, your mind is a blank canvas. Most people immediately flood it with distractions, notifications, noise, other people's opinions. Don't. Take 5 minutes and think on purpose. Ask, what do I want to think about today? What attitude will I carry? What's my dominant focus? Then speak it out loud. I am calm. I am clear. I am disciplined. That's not fluff. That's programming. You're setting your mental software before the world uploads its viruses. 2. Midday command. Redirect your energy. At some point, the world will test you. You'll face something that triggers you, drains you, or distracts you. That's when you stop and reset. Breathe. Ask yourself, what thought am I operating from right now? If it's reactive, change it. If it's emotional, steady it. If it's negative, replace it. One powerful phrase to use. I choose my next thought. Say it out loud. It recenters you instantly. That's the essence of intentional thinking. Conscious redirection. 3. Night command. Reflect and reinforce. Before bed, don't just scroll. Don't just distract. Review. Ask, what thoughts guided me today? What thoughts weakened me? What thoughts do I want to build tomorrow? This reflection locks in the day's lesson. It transforms awareness into growth. You're not just ending the day, you're upgrading your identity. Thinking on purpose creates a chain reaction. Purposeful thoughts create purposeful emotions. Purposeful emotions create purposeful actions. Purposeful actions create a purposeful life. That's the formula. And it all starts with thought. Every time you catch a negative loop and redirect it, that's progress. Every time you stop before reacting, that's mastery. Every time you remind yourself, I'm in control, that's freedom being built in real time. The average person lives as a reaction. They let thoughts happen to them. You've learned to make thoughts happen for you. That's a new level of existence. When you think on purpose, you design your emotions. When you design your emotions, you design your actions. When you design your actions, you design your destiny. That's how you change your life from the inside out. So here's the question. What kind of life do you want to build? Because your life is the echo of your dominant thoughts. If you think peace, you'll create calm. If you think discipline, you'll build consistency. If you think strength, you'll attract resilience. If you think purpose, you'll live meaningfully. You can't live beyond your mindset. You can't rise above your thoughts. So make them count. Make them intentional. Make them powerful. You've learned this entire time that control begins with awareness. Now it ends with direction. No more random thinking. No more emotional reactions. No more mental chaos. From this moment forward, you think with clarity. You think with power. You think with purpose. Because when you think on purpose, you live on purpose. And when you live on purpose, nothing can shake you. You'll still face storms. You'll still face setbacks. But your foundation will be unshakable because it's built on discipline. Every thought becomes a choice. Every emotion becomes a lesson. Every challenge becomes training. That's mastery. That's freedom. That's control. You've built a mind that no longer serves fear. It serves you. You've built a mindset that no longer reacts. It creates. That's not motivation. That's mental architecture. So here's the final truth. You were never weak. You were just unfocused. You were never broken. You were just undisciplined. And now you know better. From this day forward, catch your thoughts. Command your focus. Create your emotions. Design your life. Because when you control your thoughts, you control your destiny. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not your fear. You are the thinker behind the thought, the creator behind the chaos, the mind behind the masterpiece. So think like it. Live like it. Lead like it. This is how you control your thoughts. This is how you change your life. Think on purpose, live on purpose, and never go back to sleep. Audiobook end. Every habit you have, every emotion you feel, every result you experience, it all starts with a thought. You've learned how to interrupt negative loops, build new ones, and command your inner dialogue with precision. Remember, control the first thought, and you control the chain reaction. Control your emotions, and you control your behavior. Control your behavior, and you control your destiny. The mind is not your enemy. It's your most powerful servant. Speak to it with authority. Train it with discipline. Direct it with purpose. Because the moment you take control of your thoughts, you take control of your life. Now go prove it every single